problem, of course, is one that none of these theories talk about sex at all or our biology, and if we know anything, especially about modern psychology, we know that most of the stuff that happens with our mind is a combination of biological factors and environmental factors, right? So, if you experience depression or anxiety, that could be as a result of your environment and your circumstance, and or it could be a result of a chemical imbalance that you have, right? Or some other mental challenge, right, that you're dealing with. Perhaps, bipolar disorder runs through your family, right? Or major depressive disorder, right? So we have those biological elements and our environmental ones, but unfortunately these interpersonal approaches didn't give any account of our biology, and they didn't really talk about biological sex at all. The only sex they were interested in was our sexuality and our sexual encounters, right? So a lot of it was engaging in our actions, which is why those theories don't focus on sex. So we just have a not applicable here. But they did give a much more generous understanding of gender. So here I have sort of two different approaches that you can find in these respective theories. Just to mention, social learning theory is the idea that, again, your society you're going to sort of mimic or copy other individuals who are prominent. That could be adults that it could be people on TV, right? So anyone that's sort of in your visible sphere, you will look up to and you'll model your behavior off of them. Cognitive development theory, has to do with kind of laying out the steps of how our gender identity is constructed over time. There's a number of these different theories. If you're ever interested in them in more detail, I can share some notes with you about that. But the basic idea was that we engage in certain play with other individuals, which sets up certain rules, certain sort of norms and codes that are sort of embedded in us over time, with which we sort of build this construction in our head of what it means to be X, right? What it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, right? And so what's interesting about these interpersonal approaches is that they allow for a lot of variety, right? Because our environmental situations are all different. And so because of this, as I was mentioning, their view of gender is going to be a much more liberal, in that they're going to say that gender is not biologically determined, but is socially constructed. And because of that, we have the two binary notions of gender, as well as other possibilities, right? They kind of leave open the idea that, right, there could be other views, but unfortunately in some of the early, especially psychodynamic theories of Freud, if you fell outside of the binary, that was typically viewed as being the result of some sort of trauma or error as you were making your progression or developing your sense of gender identity. So while they acknowledge a greater variety of gender identities, they're not normatively valuing them in the same way, right? Masculinity and femininity are still going to be seen as positive associations, whereas if you fall outside of that, they're going to see that as quote-unquote something being wrong, right? Something went wrong in your development. And this is again tied to sexuality.